The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning, Bahamas. Happy Saturday to all. Ricardo Wells in with the forum today. Hope you're excited as I am to join the conversation. Again, this is a platform built for the listeners. So if you want to join any of our conversations today, telephone lines are open already. If you want to jump in, there's a lot to unpack. Busy week in the news. But if you want to join the conversation today, you can hit us up at 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-425 Family Islands at 242-300-5720. Text lines are also active today. Trying to locate the text line, by the way. Text line is open 422-GR96, 422-4796. Standard text rate supply. Okay, producer has the. Okay, I understand what's happening. All right, that's clear. All right, so we get to go, man. Got that. Yeah, so if you want to join the conversation today, let's just run through some of the headlines. This past week, of course, we know the BPL outages continue. It's still a big deal. Shout out to my member of parliament, Pia Glover-Roll. She's actually standing up for the people this week. We can get into that as we go into our topic for the week, accountability when it comes to governance. Also in the headlines, we have still the families from Cat Island dealing with the loss of those young people a few weeks back in that tragic car accident. They had a really emotional tribute this past week. The Prime Minister and some of the cabinet officials were also in attendance there. There's still a Shantytown issue going on. We've seen several notices given out in the last week. There's talk about the flood issues in Pinewood, $26 million drainage initiative. The government is hoping that it resolves the flooding issues in Pinewood. And we see disaster preparedness expert recommends ID badges for children before hurricane season. So you know we're in the throes of it. If you're seeing things along the lines of ID badges being recommended, you see the Pinewood flooding issue there. You know hurricane season here started in June. We're in the hunt of it. So as we get into late July, early August, ensure that you have your hurricane kits in the house prepared and ready to go, because you never know. We live in the Caribbean. Any moment it could pop up. Every time you see it get hot like this, you know a hurricane right around the corner. So just always be prepared. 23-year-old defendant in fatal traffic collision that we just talked about. He went to court a few days ago, so that's a story we're still following. So there's a lot to get into, but the topic for us today, like I said before, is accountability in governance, and all of the system already there to handle these sorts of things. We don't have to overthink this. We don't have to second guess all the things that are at our hand to accommodate these issues. But I like to start the show. It's all about music. It's all about poetry. So my poem today is a lot to read in, so I'm not going to read the entire poem. One of my favorites, Langston Hughes. We had a poem from him last week. My favorite poem was last week. Dream Deferred. This week we're focusing on Let America Be Great Again. And this is a poem based around irony. One of my favorite things in the literary space is when you address something, but the ironic tale of it, the truth, the reality of it doesn't always line up with what we pretend it to be. And that's what this poem was about. Langston Hughes, he went on for almost 7 minutes, going through all these details of America and how America was great or still could be great. And he just let persons know that, despite all these things we allude to, despite all these things that we talk about when it comes to America, it's not actually great. It's never been great for the large percentage of people. And I don't want us to take this poem and focus on it from the American perspective. I want us to take this poem and focus on it from the Bahamian perspective. And you might ask, what is the Bahamian perspective in this poem? It's simple. We buy into the idea of what the Bahamas is. We buy into the idea of what the Bahamian dream is. We talked about that last week. But as we get into the throes of things, we have to ask ourselves the honest question. How much of it is actually true? So we go into spot after spot, we go into process after process with it, but how much of it is actually true? So the poem addresses the gap between the hopes and the visions of America and what the reality is. But for us, I want this poem to address the gaps between the system and what it says about us, what it says about the people that exist here, the gap that actually exists. Spend the next 2 hours. Like I said last week, we talked about the new mandate. We talked about a government being reelected for the first time in a couple of decades. Coming off of that, I want the conversation today to be focused on how we hold that new mandate, that new government accountable. Phone lines don't lighten up, and I haven't even get into the program yet. Let me try this, caller. Caller, go ahead. You on the phone?
Good morning. How you doing?
Morning, pretty good. You was waiting on me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what happens to persons like in shantytowns, like the government says they're going to start sanitizing the shantytown before they break them down?
Carl, I feel like you know exactly what the government is referring to when they said they're trying to get me in trouble.
No, hold on, man.
You've been around long enough.
You me in trouble. You're going to get in trouble with.
Now, when you say sanitized, that's not the phrase exactly used, but
They said no. They said sanitized. Basically, the clear up said sanitized.
There we go. But put it in context. Put it in context, caller. There's a lot of steps that need to go into that to ensure that once we go through that process of cleaning down those communities, the overall process here is to make the communities livable. And I'm not a communication person for the government. I'm not here to tell the government side of the story. But the idea behind it is to make the land livable, to put the land in a position where people could reclaim or go back to the land and actually build homes up to code, up to the clear structures laid out by the Ministry of Works.
Which people are you talking about? The same people who they break it down?
Carl, you're breaking up a little bit. Go again.
No, what I'm saying is which people you're talking about said for the people, you mean to make it better for the people. Which people you're talking about?
The people who want to purchase the land thereafter. This land doesn't belong to the government. In a lot of senses, a lot of these shantytown communities aren't built on government land. These are built on private properties.
So these people just go and build anywhere?
Go again, caller?
So these persons just go and build anywhere?
Caller, I feel like you're trying to pretend like you ain't been
No. I'm asking you, if these persons just build anywhere, are you paying?
That's the primary issue with the shantytown communities. A lot of these land in dispute. Some of these persons claim that they are paying rent to some landowner. They've been permitted in some cases. Those permits don't follow through with the records presented at the Ministry of Works. So that's why we have these sorts of situations.
Okay.
So the idea behind shantytowns are unpermitted constructions. That is what the government is trying to alleviate with these matters.
Unpermitted construction. And what about the unpermitted humans in the shantytown? What happens to them? I hear no records of persons being apprehended or persons, false documents or anything to these shanties. What's going on?
Caller, the concept behind the show, caller, is to give everybody the opportunity to address national issues. So I ain't gonna cut the call. Like I have the dialogue with you. With you. So let's on the table here.
Yeah. I'm asking a question.
Caller, let's lay all the facts on the table. When the government set out on this exercise, what was the process that was presented to us as citizens of the Bahamas? What did the government say that they wanted to achieve with this process?
I guess we just move the homes, right?
Say that again.
To remove any unregulated homes.
There you go. Now, as a part of that process, we know that there's an immigration process that also needs to play out.
Mm-hmm.
So you, just like me, we're waiting on the reports on what has been discovered in the clearing of these shantytown communities. We are all waiting to see, from an immigration standpoint, what data comes out of it. Hold on. I can't, before the government gives the statistics related to it, say what I think it is, or you can't even do that.
Yeah, I wasn't saying you or me, you know.
Say that again?
I wasn't saying you or me.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, the story has already been in the paper saying that he demolished these homes, right?
Uh-huh.
And
we've also seen a part of those same news reports, the reactions coming out of those communities from the residents of those.
Yeah, okay, I can see that, right?
You see? Okay.
But I mean, like, as a Bahamian, right? The land is important. The persons who come here legally is important. The persons who come here illegally should be dealt with.
Right.
And okay, and you know what? It's ironic. Days already passed now, right? The place has been locked down, and they said like about 3 months for the left standing because it's a query, right? So now, what about the human factor in it? Are these persons above the law? I always wonder because.
Yeah, but call out. We have to deal with this again. We can't compound issues and then expect all of the issues to be addressed. The way you address issues is you source through the issues and figure out root causes. Okay? Now, what you're trying to do, we started the conversation telling you what was in the headlines this week. The government has gone through their process to address persons in these communities. They've gone through it. They've looked at the permit structures, and they've determined of those structures what need to be torn down or be demolished. They've notified the residents of those homes. Now, you want to add on top of that, or you want to compound there, the immigration status of the persons living in those homes. I'm saying to you, we have to wait until the government makes it clear on what has been discovered in those communities related to the status of those persons. I can't speculate, neither can you. Okay? Thank you for joining the forum today. We're going to keep it moving. Like I said, poem for the day, Langston Hughes, let America be America again. But we're not taking it from the American perspective. We're taking it from the perspective of the Bahamas. The poem sets out to tell you the promises that America offered, not only to Negroes, but offered to a large percentage of Americans at that time. This poem was written in 1935. And what Langston Hughes did so creatively was he juxtaposed that to the realities of those promises. So I want us in the Bahamas to use this poem, and when you have some free time today, I invite you to pull it up. Read through it. If you don't want to read through it, there's a lot of videos available on YouTube that goes through this poem in great detail. Listen to it and take from it what you may. But what I want you to take from it is the understanding of what is promised and the reality of those things. And the gap in between that is what we want to focus on today. The gap in between what is promised and the reality that we live in. Governance is what government does when no one is clapping. Accountability is what happens when someone's watching. Trust is what is left over after both. That's what we want to talk about today. So when we talk about it from the Bahamians' perspective, do Bahamians believe that institutions meant to serve them actually answer to them? Not the personalities, not the party, the institutions. And the institutions we are talking about today, it's not just Parliament. We want to take it a step beyond that. We gotta take it one step beyond that. We have to understand that in order for Parliament to exist in this Westminster system, there's some items that are attached to that. And when we talk about the items that are attached, we're talking to things like the Freedom of Information Act. We're talking about the Public Accounts Committee. We're talking about things like the Disclosures Act. These apparatuses, these parts of the process have been added for critical reasons. They play roles. I think oftentimes what we have done, whether intentionally or unintentionally, what we've done is we've avoided the process to give these instruments the powers that they deserve. We've removed from these instruments the value that they actually have. I remember during my time as a reporter, there was a lot of talk around the PAC and the role of the PAC, the Public Account Committee, why it was, being handled the way it was handled. And a lot of people at that time just looked at it and it's like, oh, the opposition doing too much, the opposition trying to, do all these things. But the reality there was simple. We unintentionally stripped down the authority put into the PAC. Us, as a country. We allowed the government to run ramshot over it, take away all the value that the PAC actually had. And we left it to be a shell of itself. And we wondered at that time, what could come out of this, and now we're seeing it straight up to today. It's the same thing with the Freedom of Information Act. So that's where we're going to go with the conversation today. Again, telephone lines are open, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, 300-5720 is toll-free from the Family Islands, and the text line is also active today, 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Getting to the text line now. See. Texter, I can't let you go. I'm a good MP like that. You say 50-50, I want you to follow up and tell me why. So the texter says in regard to PLP, PLPs are generally excellent flammers. I think she flamming, man. My power been going off, every night. 3-4, I call it flickers, 3-4 flickers every hour. Between 8 p.m. and sometimes all the way up until midnight or 1 a.m. You still see the flickers throughout the night. So I appreciate her addressing it. I know some of my neighbors in the community and the adjacent communities, they have been going through it a lot worse than I am. They have been without power in some instances for hours at a time. Next texter, good day. I have a question. How do you get a permit without conveyance? Because you can't get it, a BPL account without a conveyance. So illegals who came illegally and squatted illegally, unbuilt, I assume you meant to say built illegally, should be charged the same way Bahamians are charged if they do the things illegally, not rewarded. Again, text, a lot of this text I actually agree with. All I'm saying is it's a part of the process. Let's allow the process to play out. Let's not try to just jump to conclusion and fix things all in one breath. Again, the program here is you have to take these issues and break them down, look at them one at a time. And I agree that there should be some charge coming out of these things. There shouldn't just be, we're going to break down these communities and allow these persons to just roam to another and do the same thing. We have to put the stopgaps in place to ensure that what we see in some of these communities are not permitted to happen again. And in some of these areas, we have to ensure that we go through the process of ensuring proper construction, proper development. And I've been long on record calling for the government to create a national plan for a new systematic direction for the city of Nassau and for the island of New Providence. I feel like there's a lot of unregulated development. We see a lot of these communities popping up. The infrastructure is not what it's supposed to be, and it leads to issues down the line. We see what's happening with Pinewood now. We see what's happening with the southern portion of New Providence when we have serious flooding. All that is from communities not being properly developed and adequately engineered the way that they're supposed to be. But again, when we talk about the legislation that we have in place, to get back to the topic today, accountability in government, like I said before, we have a lot of these instruments already in place. We talk about the Freedom of Information Act. We talk about the Public Disclosures Act. We talk about the Ombudsman Act. We talked about the Public Procurement Act. We talked about the Disclosures Act. And we even talked a bit about, I didn't mention it, but I should have, the Integrity Commission. And when we talk about FOIA, like I said, we passed FOIA in 2017. We've not seen proper enforcement of that act yet. It's 2026, so we're in almost a decade and we don't see proper enforcement there. This is the things that we talk about when we talk about the accountability aspect of governance, the architecture, to ensure that these things not only have, but they are enforced to the point that they actually make a difference. We're tired of seeing governments come in and sidestep these issues, sidestep our inclusion in these processes. And I'm trying to figure out, in researching this topic, I looked at some of the Freedom of Information Acts across the region. I looked at some of the Ombudsman Acts across the region. And I'm trying to figure out, and this is just me putting it on the table, and if you want to chime in on that, please do. But I looked at it and I had to ask, are we going through these processes only to go through them? Are we putting these acts on the table because we feel like there's a subset or a sub-portion of our population that just want it? Are we doing it for the international community or the international agencies that are watching? Are we doing these just to put them on paper to say it's done and to tick a box? Or are we actually doing it to make our country better? And I, for one, feel like we're just doing it to make our country. We don't see any follow through. I looked at Jamaica. I looked at Trinidad. I looked at places like that. I look at Barbados. Barbados becoming a republic in the last 10 years. And a lot of the things that they laid on the table. And don't get me wrong, a lot of these countries, they haven't been successful at it either. But they've done enough to advance on the process. It's like we're still, for lack of a better phrase, playing around with it. We're still playing house with it. And that's very, very concerning to me, because a lot of our national issues, a lot of the issues that we go through tie back to the fact that the accountability models that we put in place aren't actually working. They don't actually exist. And that leads to so much. But the biggest thing it leads to, in my opinion, is a lag in institutional trust. So when we talk about, the reaction we see by so many in our communities, the lack of respect for rules and regulations and laws, it's because everybody know, man, these institutions, not really the Bahamas is a jokey place. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people look at the laws of our land and just basically scoff at it because they know it doesn't really lead to anything. They know it doesn't really mean anything. So you can't expect a man driving up and down East Street running red lights to feel some sort of way when the politicians ain't disclosing and haven't been properly disclosing for quite some time. He knows that the persons that are acquiring contracts, government contracts at that, aren't being properly investigated, aren't being properly looked at. So you can't expect the driver on the street. I believe that if you sweat the small things, the big things would sort itself out. But vice versa. If we put the onus on the big things as well, the little man will be like, boy, everything's serious wrong here. I got to take things serious as well. Because trust doesn't collapse, from one scandal. It doesn't just break down because, this one person No, trust is eroded over time. And one of the biggest saw from this government when they came to power, and we've seen from successive governments, is this talk about corruption and how we handle it. But since this government has come to power, we've seen a lot of things that's close to corruption, that looks fishy on the surface. And when we ask questions about it, or when our media goes out there to try to get more information about it, they get sidestepped. That's concerning to me. So by the time trust visibly breaks down, the damage has already been done. And don't look too further than the things we just talked about. The same BPL crisis that we talk about. By the time the Bahamians lost trust in BPL, it was all of the small things we saw. Remember the big engines we spent all our money on a few years back? Where they at now? This LNG plant thing that we hear all this talk about now, this ain't the first time. We've known for years that this has been an issue. But the public has lost trust in the government's ability to resolve this issue. Frustration creeping. Because for all the noise that we've made, our people now recognize this big fact. That BPL, at the core of its performance, is the ability to keep. And they don't trust the government to do that, because they don't trust the government to make the right choices related to that. So we're going to jump into our first commercial break today. As we come back from the break, we're going to continue this conversation about accountability and what it looks like.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
Struggling to find your financial rhythm? Make that move to Fidelity and let us help you orchestrate your financial goals into perfect harmony with free financial coaching sessions. Make that move today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Running through the castles, flying through the air, laughing with our friends, fun is everywhere. Jumping higher, higher than before. Inflatable Kingdom, give us more and more.
Jump this way to fun at Inflatable Kingdom Attraction Park. Opening Friday, July 10th at Breezes Cable Beach. Unlimited inflatable rides for kids up to 12. Kids $25. Adults $5. Adult supervision required.
Hey kids, are you ready? It's back! The Jeff Rogers Summer Basketball Camp. July 27th to 31st at the Kendall Isaac Gym, 2 to 5 p.m. daily, and August 3rd to 8th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for boys and girls from 5 to 18. Come enjoy the thrills of the big game alongside NBA legends and current superstars Michael Sweetbells Thompson, Michael Jr., Klay Thompson, Buddy Hield, Muggsy Bogues, and many others. Registration forms available now at the Seventh-day Adventist offices on Tony Williams Darling Highway. The Jeff Rogers Summer Basketball Camp.
Came in this game, you stuck your fangs in this game. You want no chain in this game, your hood, your name in this game. Now you double up, time to bubble up the bread and huddle up. Stick it to the scripts, now if them Benjamins go cuddle up. Skip, hop, drip, drop, flip, flop with the white tube sock. It go. That's what the products smell like when the chemicals mix. 50 salute out the captain's.
Welcome back to the forum hosted by yours truly, Ricardo Wells. It's a busy Saturday. I already get the live from the top man. The top man tell me don't take calls before I'm ready because people could try and derail. It's okay. I can deal with them, boss man. I can deal with them. I good with that. But again, welcome to the forum. Platform built for persons like you to join the conversation. I don't want nobody to feel like they ordered the conversation. The conversation open for everyone. And this is a platform built around music. And what you heard it was supposed to be something else going into the break. The producer getting that list together for me right now. But coming back from the break, we went through Hood Politics. And the reason I chose this album today is one of the goated albums out there. Kendrick has done a tremendous job in hip-hop so far, but we heard Hood Politics coming back in. It reminds that politics doesn't happen in the chamber. Politics happens all around us. And the more we try to pretend that it doesn't, the more we face these sorts of issues. Caller, you on the forum, go ahead. Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, Johnson, yeah. The key words is something I've been advocating for well over a decade: transparency, accountability, integrity, anti-corruption, and freedom of information. Now, you touched on a couple of things. Let me just first touch on the shantytown. I understand the caller anguish in the shantytown because the shantytown is often spoke about as if there was a singularity. When the shantytown covers the fact of we lack affordable housing in the Bahamas and have not done anything to address this for decades. There's an issue where we don't know who is in our country. Failure of immigration, because all immigration work permits are supposed to be accompanied by a certification that the work permit holder is, or the person who obtained the work permit provides adequate housing to work for them. I've known and seen in arguments where individuals, even on the news with the police and immigration, the guy says, my work permit money is in the house. These things are in, and I go, wait a minute, but you don't pay work permit. Your employer does. And so and it's almost become cultural that these individuals, almost like once they get you, they continue to pay for their own work permit.
Yep.
And so then you have the fact that you have utilities that is provided to many of these communities where BTC, water and sewer, and others themselves, the cable and other people cannot justify. Where did they get the consent to put in the infrastructure without permit?
But
they
see,
have to put,
but see, Alan.
I mean,
but see, again, this is why I always just caution people: you can't look at things at the macro level. You have to look at these things at the micro level. all of the policies and regulations related to this process, we've allowed the system to skirt it for so long. And when I say the system, everybody that goes into it. Not just the people in the shiny town benefiting from this. We've allowed every person associated with the system to skirt it.
But when you look at it, right, and I've done the calculation, I've told people illegal immigration in the Bahamas is at minimum a $1.5 billion a year economy.
Yep.
Okay? And so you have to ask, those you could see by the virtue of where the people live, that those people are not the one that's extracting the $1.5 billion out of the economy. So
Hold on, let me just say for the record, I've not done the research to confirm that it's 1.5 billion. I know it up there.
Yeah, but you only have to. But it's actually, if you do the research, I gave you the beginning. It's greater because what happens is when you cause a depressed economy by the illegal workers in it, and then individuals make less money because of competition, you could look at the GDP impact, and it's probably going to be significantly higher. You know, so if we have the numbers that says there's 30 to 40 to 50,000 unregulated individuals, because they want to say, if you don't want to use the word illegally in the Bahamas anymore. So where do they work, live, maintain, and everything else? And so when you begin to look at the freedom of information, that's why governance in the Bahamas itself is a farce. Now, because in governance, you're running a multi-billion-dollar economy. If we were to look at this as just a simple billion-dollar company, anywhere else in the world where you have a chairman of the board and board members and CEOs and whatever, they would be held responsible to the point that there'll probably be no one in the C-suite and nobody on the board. They'd all be fired by the shareholders and not even allowed back into this room.
Yeah, but see, Alan, I have a running theory right now, and I want you to just bear with me for a second while I go down this theory. The reason nobody on this, if we, again, look at the government as a C-suite, while nobody in this C-suite would be fired, is because they have perfected the craft of false marketing to the employees.
Absolutely.
They have allowed the employees to exist in a system where they don't look at the money they're supposed to make the normal way. They look at the money that they're making through deals and plots and, as we would say, the tipping culture. So if this was our executive suite has perfected the system to tell the employees, nah, man, this job perfect is the money you could make by hustling. And our people have bought into that.
Absolutely. Culturally, it has become a cultural aspect of the dependency culture. I think my wife adequately described it in a letter to your paper where she said it's learned helplessness, right?
And I've been stressing this for years. Bahamian people are stuck in a mindset where they believe the hustle is better than meaningful work. We've perfected the craft of telling our people it's better for you to go and hustle your brother than for you guys to collectively work together to bring new resources into the discussion.
Right, and they have to also master the art of division. Let me just sidebar that for instance, in Grand Bahama, we have Bahama Rock that's about to try to move into almost 1,000 acres of land they're about to acquire, but they want permission to actually buy this land. If we give them permission to extract and build another big hole for $3 exchange, they says we'll have 85 jobs and a $25 million GDP impact over 25 years. Whereas the same land has been shown to propose that can generate $1 billion a year into actual behemoths. Not $25 million a year, $1 billion a year into the physical hand and wallets of behemoths.
Right.
So what we do in the Bahamas too is this. They want to have a meeting with the community surrounding it as if to what happens in Grand Bahama, what happens in Exuma, what happens in Mayaguana is not a contract with all behemoths. So we say, we ain't talking to you in New Providence, even though you need New Providence collectively to give consent for them to do this. So they tell you, we can ask the people around. And so this is where, when you begin to have freedom of information, right, and these so-called accountability and integrity and anti-corruption, you would then have to bring a governance plan for what you do. BPL is an example.
That's why I use it as the prime example. That's a prime example, because the issues we see with BPL, it's the result of all of these problems building on top of each other.
Right, but here's the thing, though. Anybody who tells you they will be fixing the problem without giving you a gap analysis, a cost analysis, a time analysis, KPIs and whatever, is gaslighting you because you don't know what it costs to fix it. So, for instance, they're saying they can spend 150 million, 300 million, this, whatever, when in reality, if we look at BPL existing legacy bill, it's well over $1 billion, right? And they give us this, it's $500. That's BPL bill. The legacy bill, including sovereign guarantees and everything else, exceeds $1 billion. That means, in essence, BPL should pay that. Then you now come to a point that you need between three, anyone who understands the infrastructure of New Providence. The information is not openly available, but it's there. Knows that it would take between $3 and $4 billion to build a network of New Providence. The network who has end of life.
See, Alan, you don't have to rebuild the entire network all at one time.
No, you don't. But you must recognize the cost so you can come up with a time schedule and how you're going to pay for it. So I'm simply saying is that you have to say this is where we are starting and this is what it is. You know, you say the Bible tells you how do you build a house without measuring the cost.
Yeah, fair point.
Okay, and so what I'm simply saying is then, but we can look at it and say this is what we have to do, because when we look at BPL, like for instance, I understand you say your minister spoke, right?
Yeah. Well, I
like her confession. I like her confession. See, she made a confession, and so did Mr. Clay Sweeting made a confession. These are two senior cabinet ministers now, who came out of cabinet and says, I don't know what the hell BPL is doing.
Well, I ain't going to put words in them. They ain't say
I'm going to put words in it because she should know. no, see? And I'm saying Clay Sweeting says for the same thing with the Ultra.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wait a minute. The government is the one who is promoting its energy plan, its energy renew or whatever for the entire Bahamas.
Right.
Not BPL. BPL is a creature of instruction who depends on the finances of government to implement what it is happening because they don't have the revenue. BPL didn't sign any multiple agreements for its infrastructure, for gas, for oil, for none of that stuff. It didn't. So you don't have to separate BPL as if though it's some separate entity that runs in the country. I would like for it to be, right? But but you have this cabinet people who have been telling us for 5 years that this is going on.
Yeah.
And they are now coming back.
Hold on, see, you slipped something in there that I got to correct. It's been going on for more than 5 years.
No, I said they've been telling us for 5 years what they're doing. They're doing.
Okay, fair point.
They're fixing it.
But the governments before them have also done that same exact thing.
But they said they came in and told me they're here to fix it. See, when my gardener came with there, and the other guy had jacked up my thing that was killing my plants, if he had knocked back on my door and tell me that the other guy messed up, then my question is, why you told me you had the solution?
No, fair point. Okay, but the problem is we stuck in a country with the same two gardeners. We all could agree that none of these boys could cut grass properly. We all could agree. Now the question is, if I feel comfortable on the third Saturday in July and I say to everyone, well, I'm comfortable with this one cutting my grass today. But I know he can mess up eventually. And when
because you go back to the culture when we've been having a degradation of our economy over the last 25 years, more specifically, that the world accelerated. We have had our leadership talk about and understand the dependency nature of certain people whose job is to gaslight us, gallus us, reverse gaslight, fire hose us, and all these other different things of communication, because the Progressive Liberal Party has mastered the communication concept.
Okay, I can't let you get that off like that because it sounds like we being biased, Alan.
No, being biased.
Hold on. The Progressive Liberal Party has done a tremendous job. Has also attempted to do the same exact thing. Have they had the same results? No. But they have also gaslight us on this issue, see, Alan.
Hold on, see, Alan. That's a weakness.
See, Alan, we can't pretend as if we have not seen the FNM try to attack these same issues.
We rejected the FNM in 2021.
Agreed.
And we rejected them in 2026. They are not part of this equation for the next 4 years.
They can always be
critiquing.
See, Alan, I gotta let you go right there. They can always be part of this equation. They're going to always be a part of this equation. They have to be a part of this equation because they have been a part of the process that got us here. We can't pretend like we switch faces. And in fact, this is my next point. My next point on this whole issue, when we looked at why we're in these issues and why accountability is not what it's supposed to be, is because of the political culture. And our political culture is we trust faces. We don't want to trust frameworks. We don't want to trust systems. We don't want to trust the policies that get things done. We want to trust the faces. We want to look at a face and we want to look at somebody like Mr. Christie, Mr. Ingram, and we be like, oh, if he in charge, then I good with whatever is being done. Results may vary, but you good with it. That's what you want me to do right now. You want me to just look at the face of the people and be like, oh, the PLP in now, so everything that goes wrong is the PLP fault. They have inherited a lot of issues. I'm not trying to give them a pass, but I want us to be fair in these dialogues. We're going to be fair in these discussions. We have a country to build. We ain't got time to carry water for nobody. We ain't got time to curry favor. We have a country to build. And because we have a country to build, we have to understand that we have to shift our political culture. We ain't going to do the face no more. Yeah, your face card may be good. Yeah, your face card might not be declining. But the issue at the end of the day is we still have infrastructures that we need to build. So that brings me into my next point. Everything works fine until the face change. To see Alan's point. But what is left holding everything together once that face change? We criticized Mr. Ingram. I remember I was in college at the time when we had the road works going up and down Blue Hill Road and Market Street. And we criticized Mr. Ingram. And now everybody that goes driving in my car, I like to go on the highways and I always say, all these good roads Ingram built. Because I benefit from them. But while he was prime minister, there was a lot of things that were supposed to happen that didn't happen. There was a lot of things that fell apart under his watch. So I can't take the good and forget the bad. I have to take both. So when we talk about this BPL situation, yeah, the minister in charge right now, she's going through a great deal. The fire is on, the pressure is on. But a lot of what she's suffering through comes as a result of the ministers that came before her. That came as a result of decisions before her. The infrastructure that she inherited, it's in poor condition. It wasn't all her fault. I mean, the way she's managing it now, yes, we're going to grade her accordingly. But we got to grade on the curve because a lot of what she get wasn't wicked. Okay, so let's just be fair there. But every time leadership change, we're being forced to relearn all of our situations again. And I want us as Bahamians to stop that. And that's the point I'm trying to make to see Alan. The only way we shift this thing, the only way we change our political culture is to understand, hey, yeah, the face is changing. But if we build these frameworks, if we build these structures, if we build in these policies, if we use what already exists on our books, when it comes to FOIA, when it comes to the embarrassment, when it comes to disclosures, these things that were built to last, if we use these the right way, we can make a difference. And you know who plays a huge role in that? The media. The media, and that's why I started today's program with some of the headlines from this past week.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All is well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can have no headache over Sea Island.
Oh, no, I ain't got no. Sea Island is good people, man. I ain't got no headache over him. I want him to be fair. I want him to be fair.
Everything, but they need to now come to the forefront, offer themselves. You know, can they have a solution?
So I can say it like this. I've heard that line related to Sea Island for quite some years. I'll say it like this. Everybody don't need to be in frontline politics, you know. Our political parties and our political groupings, they now need to understand how to put their team together to ensure voices like Sea Island are at their table.
Listen here.
Go ahead.
You use a valid point with the road, right? When everybody talk complaining about things, when you start doing it, you better be delays and everything. You understand me? When we start doing things in this country, everybody have a problem with it. You understand me? So when they come start that road, that will cost him the election, you know.
I absolutely know that.
You know, we want this, but we want it to happen overnight, but being people realize that things don't happen overnight. You know, but that's the reality of it. But okay, buddy, have a good day.
Thank you, man. Yeah, but that's people like Sea Island is who the show is for. When I came up with the concept for the show, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted people to have the ability to call in, for lack of a better phrase, to get their rocks off. I've sit through conversation after conversation in this country. I've gone through dialogue after dialogue around this country and creative things to offer to the table. But the table is so crowded because of the systems that we have relative to politics, these political parties. You got to go through the whole process to contribute. Some of the old people like to say, you got to kiss backside until you can kick it. And sometimes people don't ever grow to the ability to be able to kick it. So it's just a lot of kissing the backsides. And that's the issue I have here. So we all have a role to play in our society. We all have the role to play in the country we're trying to build. And I invite C. Allen, every time you call, old boy, this show could be open to you and everybody like you. This the show for you to say it, you got to say, because like I keep saying, we got a country to build. But back to the point I was making, when we look at the political culture, the media does play a role. We don't want to look at our news agencies as the opposition. And when I say the opposition, from a political standpoint, I don't think we need to exist in this country. And I see we're moving down that path where the second the press asks a critical question, based it all over social media and criticize, all over WhatsApp groups and all, why they asking this question? They wasn't asking this question when the next party was in. That's foolishness. That's outright foolishness. The press is not the opposition. The press has a job to do. They have a job to do by holding the government and anybody associated with the government accountable. Accountability is a big deal. It exists across the board. So when we have a free press, they have a role to play. They are not the opposition to the government. They are there to ensure that the government is doing the job that they set out to do. That's why before we have elections, all these parties do, they release their manifesto, they release their blueprint, they release all of their, 100-point plan, 10-point plan, 50-point plan, 20,000 plan. They release them. And the job of the media is to go through those, decipher exactly what these parties are proposing to the public, and present it to the public. And as the government or the party that is elected go on, have to do, it's the job of the press to say, well, hey, this is what you promised. This is what you set out to do, to hold them accountable. And that's why I said earlier, we're not the only small island democracy dealing with these sorts of issues. Like I told you, I took this week and I wanted to look at some of the other countries around the Caribbean and figure out where they are with some of these structures. And I told you about Jamaica. And I came across their Integrity Commission Act 2017. And I going through it, I recognized that they had some elements of it that existed before, but they had to basically put these pieces together to come up with this plan because they recognized the way that they had it initially designed in these different policies and act. It wasn't to script for persons to walk around. It's similar to what we have. And they consolidated all these things and they came up with their new, because they had several corruption bodies scattered all over the place, but then they brought them all together under this nation. And it included the Auditor General. And it included a couple of commissioners, 2 retired judges. And they were appointed after consultation with the Jamaican Governor General and the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition. And the idea behind that commission was to be able to not only address things via the law or via the policies laid out, but to ensure that what came out of it in terms of recommendations had the substantial teeth, had the substantial lead to hold up. So while we're still over here guessing, and this is why I said earlier, I don't feel like we guess and I feel like it's intentional. But while we still over here guessing all these things, and shout out to ORG. Let me stick that pin right there. Shout out to ORG, Organization for Responsible Government, Matt Aubrey and his entire team. Because they've been on the ball the last 5-10 years trying to get these things done, particularly when it comes to the Freedom of Information Act. And a lot of these points that they have raised themselves. that maybe we need to pull some of these independent bodies together under one framework and allow them to support each other, allow them to build off of each other, and create the essential policies necessary to allow persons to have more access to information, to allow persons to have more access to the knowledge to help shape our community initiatives. And I tip my hat to Matt and his team. We look at Barbados. And Barbados is in such a good place, in my opinion, right now because of the excellent work by their Prime Minister, Mia Mottley. Tremendous woman. A woman of strength, a woman of valor, tremendous woman. Saw her at the UN this past week. Sorry, not at the UN. She was on part of the committee that went to discuss reparations, and she had some commentary related to that this past week. But when she took office in 2018, there was a financial audit done in Barbados. And that audit revealed that undisclosed liabilities could push her country's real debt to GDP ratio by roughly 150%, far above what had been publicly disclosed at that time, up to that point. And when she saw that number, she moved her country to a point of discussion. And out of that discussion, her country passed what they call the Prevention of Corruption Act that passed in 2021. I mean, it's not been a perfect story, but again, it shows you what could happen when the politicians of that day set their political culture aside, go through the accountability frameworks that already exist and say, hey, we could not only do this, we could do more. They lead the discussion. They tell the people within their camp. And again, I'm not using Jamaica and Barbados as the perfect cases for what accountability could look like. I'm using the processes in these two instances. Jamaica with their Integrity Commission in 2017, Barbados and their Prevention of Corruption. And I'm using these two pieces and I'm saying to you, this is what it looks like when a government is serious about not only being held accountable, but allowing its citizens to be the one to hold them accountable. So you have two different countries that took two different paths. Jamaica restructured its institution, and Barbados into transparency. We could do the same thing, and that's where me and C. Allen, we in full agreement. We could do the same thing in the Bahamas. But foolish nature. And going back to the track list for the day, the song that was supposed to play us into the last commercial break was, we couldn't get to it, but it was Institutionalized by Kendrick Lamar. And the reason I picked that song is that exact same thing. We've been institutionalized to believe that when we talk about accountability, to believe that when we talk about our government doing what it is that they're supposed to do, following through on the promises that they make, we've been institutionalized to the point that we believe that that's too much. You have people that call this radio show every single day, not this radio show, but this radio station every single day to defend their party, to defend their political organization. And I often ask myself, y'all defending them for what reason? Because y'all don't want to be held accountable? You know, when we do that, when we hold them accountable, it only benefits all of us. So what you defending them from? You feel like somebody's character getting maligned, and you feel like somebody's name getting dragged through the mud unfairly, and you feel like you got to say something to stand up for them. I invite you to do that. But if it's just based on the outcome of a process that they created, nah, my guy, you got to sit down, you got to sit small and let the process play out. Because they sign up for this. They sign up to do the job. To do the job right, going back to our poem for the day, Let America Be Great Again by Langston Hughes. They made the promises. They promised that it was not only going to be better, but they promised that they was going to govern in the sunshine. And a part of that comes with accountability. I want to get through some text before we take our half-point break today. First one going back to the Shantytown issue. Okay, well, the conclusion of the Shantytown...
This is Guardian Radio 96.9.
Okay, the conclusion of the Shantytown breakdown was Keith Bell allegedly told those people that there's going to be a community of homes built in that area, and they will have the first preference. Okay, that's some substantiated texter. We got to sort through that and figure that out. The real question is, why do laws only apply to owners of the land? Why do foreigners get a free pass? How come if I squat, I end up arrested? Foreigner is awarded with the texter. Let's stop compounding issues and let's bring it together. Okay, we can't. That text. Texas, y'all disappoint me today, man. I was expecting y'all to come with it. Ricardo, who the hell looks at the person we hire to fix the problem when we allow the person to dwell on the fact that someone before him created the thing he committed to fix it? Did he say that he didn't know? No, he said that he knew and could fix it. So why don't... Okay, see, well, I answered this in my last little rant. So definitely, but I'm going to finish up your text. So why the pass on his inability to fix what he was hired to fix? We have then moved into the mindset that we hired the new person with a built-in excuse for his failures. So how can we expect results? And you're absolutely correct. And that's why I'm saying we gotta trust the framework. We gotta trust the policies. We gotta trust the procedures. Stop looking at the face. Stop looking at the face. We gotta stop looking at the face. But we're gonna take a quick commercial break, halfway point. We're gonna come back and finish up the show. Again, this is The Forum with yours truly, Ricardo Wells.
Sometimes I get off watching you die in vain. It's such a shame. They may call me crazy. They may say I suffer from schizophrenia or something, but oh, you made me. You black don't crack.
Everybody winning it bigger, the action is hotter, and the excitement never stops. This is in cash and free spin every month through our high-paying casino tournament. From spin-off to spin rush to our high-energy slot race tournament, your next spin can turn into your next payday. But that's not all. Lottery players can chase the jackpot, where every $10 spend gets you one step closer to bursting the next jackpot. Will you winner? What are you waiting for? Visit Everybody Wins Live to see all the ways you can cash in.
Hey kids, are you ready? It's back! The Jeff Rogers Summer Basketball Camp. July 27th to 31st at the Kendall Isaac Gym, 2 to 5 p.m. daily, and August 3rd to 8th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for boys and girls from 5 to 18. Come enjoy the thrills of the big game alongside NBA legends and current superstars Michael Sweetbells Thompson, Michael Jr., Klay Thompson, Buddy Hield, Muggsy Bogues, and many others. Registration forms available now at the Seventh-day Adventist offices on Tony Williams Darling Highway. The Jeff Rogers Summer Basketball Camp.
Always on the go? Missed the show? You can now listen to Guardian Radio talk shows anytime, anywhere on Spotify and YouTube by searching Guardian Radio 96.9 FM or by entering the name of your favorite show. You can also listen by logging on to GuardianTalkRadio.com and clicking on the podcast tab. Guardian Radio, continuing to provide you with fresh news and smart talk anywhere, anytime, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
how much a dollar really costs. The question is detrimental, paralyzed in my thoughts. Parasites in my stomach keep me with a gut feeling, y'all. Gotta see how I'm chilling once I park this luxury car. Hopping out feeling big as Mutombo. 20 on pump 6, 30 Marcellus called me Dumbo. 20 years ago, can't forget. Now I can lend them an ear or two. How to stack these residuals tenfold. The liberal concept that men do. 2006 and didn't hear me.
Welcome back to the forum, hosted by yours truly, Ricardo Wells. Like I said, telephone lines are open all day. Basically, open line show. If you want to jump in the conversation, I promise I ain't hanging up on nobody today. You can join us in the conversation, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, or toll free from the Family Islands, 242-300-5720. Text lines are also active today. Powered by BTC, 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. If you're tuning in, you could also hear us on the radio, 96.9 FM. If you're looking to tune in and you're on the internet, pick us up on the radio as well. You can pick us up on the television. So much ways to listen in. Let me pay some bills while we got it. Phone line, I see you. Just give me a second. Let me get through this. Guardian Radio and Guardian Media Group wants to send you away for the summer with the Great Summer Escape giveaway. You could win a trip for two, including hotel, car, luggage, and $1,000 cash. All you need is a valid passport. Just get a Nassau Guardian newspaper, fill out the entry form, drop it in the entry box at the Nassau Guardian in Oaksfield, and tune into the Guardian Radio and follow the Nassau Guardian on all social media platforms for your chance to win. The Guardian Media Group. The Great Summer Escape giveaway. Deadline entry, August 12th. Drawing is August 14th. Let me just get through a couple of texts. Good morning. Hold on 1 second. Good afternoon, Ricardo. I love your very unbiased discussion and a reminder to the citizens in the audience that your aim and objective is to agitate for better Bahamas. You are a breath of fresh air, Dexter. That's what we try to do. And that's all I want persons to understand. The only way we're going to grow this thing, the only way we're going to get better as a country and improve as a country is if we remain honest with ourselves. Caller, go ahead. You're on the forum.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, you said it's open live, man.
Now it is. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I really like for the public to hear from the public what they have to say about how the banks are doing us. First of all, they charge you to put your money in. They charge you to take it out. And if you leave it in, it's a monthly charge. And then you're paying for every other thing. You go to the bank, you got to stand in a line for an hour. You can't get the service. They got two tellers. We need to penalize these banks because they're treating us substandardly. And nobody in our government wants to step in and look at these. You think they don't go to these banks. But if you go to a bank and you got to stand in a line for it, they wouldn't even bring chairs, all the money they make from us as a people. And I think it's bad. We need to look at these banks. Now, they always talk about us not having $1,000 in the bank, but yet they're taxing us for putting our money in the bank. They give you nothing on your money. They just take it from you. If this is a capitalistic society, why don't they raise the interest rates? And then all the people, if the other banks don't come up with their interest rate, then what you think the people will do? The people will flock to the bank that's giving the most. Then the money would stay in the country. They're always telling us about keeping our money in the country and shopping at home. But they're not doing anything about it. They're not trying to assist us. And then this next thing about we need to eat better. We're the heaviest in the Caribbean. Why don't they drop the taxes on the vegetables and the fruit? So we will be more inclined to eat it instead of buying all the fast food. We'll cook more vegetables and stuff, but they are so high. Some people you can't get a belly full of it, but a fast food will give you a belly full.
Caller, let me ask you a question. I want probably got to ask. You were born and raised in New Providence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You are family from any of the family islands?
Yes, sir.
Which family islands?
Harbour Island and Rumkey.
Harbour Island and Rumkey. When you used to go back to those islands as a kid and flourish, yeah, I'm pretty sure you saw farms around there, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me why persons in your age group did not. You have kids? Let me ask if you have kids.
Yes, I have kids. Yeah.
What's stopping your kids from going back to those islands right now and starting some farms and starting some little cattle ranches and all that to get us a couple of sheep,
First
couple of
of
goats?
all, young man, to go back to the outer, the outer islands are more expensive than Nassau. Because if you're going to go back to farm, first of all, you need to get some crown land if you don't have the money to buy it.
Uh-huh.
Then you got to get a tractor, a D8 to go and rip it. And there's no sense in going to go rip an acre or anything like that. You need to rip about terribly, be effective with whatever it is you want to grow.
Right.
Because you want to have it in abundance. And then the offshoot of that is you got to have what the people call creatures. You need to have your hog and your goat because they'll eat what you throw away.
Right.
So you got to take all that into account if you're calling yourself serious with farming.
Uh-huh.
Now, they are not in the business of helping you with a dream like that.
Who's they? Who's the they
government.
referred to? Okay.
Because the average Bahamian can't come up with that kind of money to say, go start a farm. Farming is expensive. Anything that is worth doing, the government does not assist us with it. They talk about all these beautiful things they're doing. But we people, and you know what they did?
Uh-huh.
They got us used to having pretty flowers and grass in our yard.
They got y'all used to it.
Yes, because you see, when the PLP, you're too young to know, but when the PLP took over, it became fashionable to go in the food store and shop. Bahamians stopped growing their own food.
Okay.
You know this and understand it. But everybody now wanted to be seen in the food store because money was more available.
Uh-huh.
And so as a result, when they built their homes, they because they wanted to be like the people out east and west with the pretty flowers. They lost the idea of farming and growing something to eat. And then when you had it in abundance, the old figures like your grandmother and all them, they made jams and jellies and all of that. Nowadays, this generation, you can hardly fry egg and bacon.
But see,
they don't know how to preserve anything.
But see, Carla, you make it seem like the generations that came before played no role in this. You specifically said that the government made this a thing, and then followed right up by saying, well, the people thought that, it made them look rich and it made them look better to be able to go into the food store and buy and shop and do whatever. So the people played a role in it too, Carla?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, the psyche. See, we wanted to be like we were in charge of our country. These are places you couldn't go. Remember now, you had this whites and black thing now. And now it opened up to where we could go anywhere. Remember now. And we wanted to be everywhere in this town and be seen. And seem as though we're doing good. And those of us that were making money from the deals that were going down, they built these big, that's how come you see all these big homes all over the place, out east and west. That became fashionable. You had only a certain clientele of people living in those areas back in the day. Listen, when I was young, you could ride around in the area, like Seabreeze or anything, roll down your window and listen for a party. That's how much parties would be going on in those, because Stapleton, out west and out east. You could go to about 5 parties just to see Breeze on a good weekend.
So, Carla,
we lost the inclination to think about survival. It was about living.
Right.
We call ourselves living.
Right.
But in the meantime, and you see, out Fox Hill, that's the last strong area where you see a lot of old trees. You don't see no new fruit trees down there. You see the dilly trees almost up to the clouds, and the tamarind trees and all that, and the canep trees. They're huge. But you don't see no young trees down there. When you had Fox Hill Day, man, you could get canep. That's where everybody went for canep, tamarind, and dillies. When I was young. But nowadays, nobody is doing it. It's die. When those trees die, that's it. The people down in these areas now, these new subdivisions, I mentioned one time ago, every new subdivision that is built, the contractor should be made to plant 2 fruit trees in the yard. So while he's there, it could catch and start to grow and put it in the people's bill. Because Bahamians don't know nothing about farming, or they don't see the significance of having a fruit tree. We got to get their psyche back to how it used to be.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you on the line. Go ahead.
Hello.
Turn your radio down just a bit, Sparky. Go ahead.
Yeah, my radio is down as all.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm on the show now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. Pleasant good morning to you. Pleasant good morning to the Bahamas, and I guess I should say happy 53rd anniversary of our country's independence once again.
Certainly, we're still in the month, so.
To all the families that lost one loved, my condolences from my family, and I guess all of us go out to them in whichever way they lost their loved one. Now, I heard the last caller talk about farming and farmland. I want to say something. I said it many times. People say, Sparky, why don't you stop talking about that and forget it? Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
In 1921, I am 75 years old. From a youngster when Mr. Pinland was in power, I always had the dream of opening up a farm for my future, my children and grandchildren, and for the betterment of the farm of the country. I never got a piece of property from Mr. Pinland, Mr. Christie, and then in 1921, apparently, the leader of the opposition now, Michael Pendard, he heard me on many talk shows, and he called me and said, I met him on Steve McKinney show one day, and he said, Sparky, I'm the Minister of Agriculture and Fishery. I'm going to see what I can do for you before we have the next election. About 2 weeks before that election, he told me, Sparky, go up to Agriculture and Fishery. There's a lady in the boardroom waiting for me to sign the document. I signed the document, and he gave me 2 acres of land off of Gladstone Road. Around me, about 5 other men got 2 acres of land too. All of us were down there, fixing up our farms and so forth. I started by invested $25,800 into the farm. First of all, you have to clear the land. That cost me $7,500. I had to get a vehicle to transfer animals and things, but I didn't want a truck, so I got a minivan. Cost me $7,500.
Right.
I ripped the land. Me, my daughter, my friend, a workman, and the man from the tractor place, and my 2 grandchildren, we went down there and started planting all kinds of trees. I said, instead of earthly trees that will grow on the ground and people could move the pumpkin and the watermelons and stuff like that, I would plant what I call heavenly trees, trees that go up big with fruit and so forth, mangoes and dillies and that type of stuff. We did that. My trees and everything was on the way. And then I also put a 40-foot container down there to keep my generators and system, and maybe somebody could live down there on the land. I was going to fix it like a little house. You still there?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, that was started. Then the new government came in now.
Uh-huh.
The PLP came in and gave me the land. The PLP came in when it's continuous. Whether it's PLP, UBB, FNM, whatever you are government. Now, I got a call one day. The neighbor across the road said, Sparky, what are you doing? I said, what you mean? He said, there's a tractor down here ripping down everything you plant, and all your trees are gone. I said, what you talking about? He said, man, from the corner, which is Mr. John Lewis, he was on the corner, 2 acres, my acres. Mr. Roll in the back of me, the other guy. All of our land is cleaned down, everything gone, every tree gone. The only thing sitting on there is your 40-foot container. I said, what you talking about? I go down there and the land is gone.
All right.
And then what happened? So now I go up to Agriculture and Fishery, and I met the lady, and she said, we've been instructed to give the land to somebody else. I said, but how can that be? The other government gave me the land, the new government took it back. So now I go to Mr. Jobo Campbell. I meet him playing cards for the election day. I said, Jobo, you was a Valley boy, I was a Valley boy, we in the Valley. Brave is a Valley boy. What happened to the land?
All right.
He said, don't ask me. I said, well, who must I ask? He said, ask the person who in charge of land. I said, well, that's the Prime Minister. I said, well, it can't be the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is just in my yard picking up jujus and digging in the bodyguards and Perry Castillo. All of them was in my yard in Pride State picking jujus.
So what was the answer they give you?
Now,
Sparky?
I've been trying to get in touch with the Prime Minister since then.
So you've not...
But you can't get in touch with nobody no more once they go back in the house.
You've not been told why the land was taken away?
Hello?
You've not been told why the land has been taken away?
No, the lady told me that they was instructed to give the land to somebody else. Me and the guys been trying to find out who they gave the land to and why. Because our trees was up and growing.
Okay.
So now we found out lately, I went to the lady of the agriculture. She said to the landowner lady in a beautiful truck with a red license plate, she takes me round the corner to another piece of land. I could look from where she took me. I could look at the land where my 40-foot container is still sitting. It's still sitting there now, and I got the keys to all the locks. And I can look, I said, that's the land right there. I can look at it, I can almost throw a rock to it. And you bringing me around the corner to this thing, and you giving me another 2 acres land. She said, that's the intention. I said, so I got to start all over again with raking this land down with a tractor again. And how I can get my 40-foot container around this? And so, if you want to farm, you have to start it all over again. I said, miss, I'm 75.
All right.
How can I start a farm now at 75? To do what I did before, and I don't know if you could do this again. Everybody has told me that is not right, Sparky. I gave the documents. I still got a copy of the documents in my hand. I gave a copy of the documents to my, and I've been instructed by all kinds of lawyers to do that. I don't know if they can fight it because that's the government land.
Yeah.
And the government land, the Prime Minister is always the Minister of Finance and Land. Isn't that so? He's always the Minister of Land and Finance. So now that is the situation going on with that. So now we found out who they said they gave the land to. The man up to the north of us has a bunch of land. In the document it says you're not supposed to build no permanent structure on the land. This man got a 2-story, looks like a condominium site.
Hold on, Sparky. You can't get into all of that. We got to figure out the validity behind all of it. All I want to know from you.
I understand what you said.
All I want to know, did you accept the new plot of land that the government provided?
No, look, I can't accept it because the woman said they got to give me new document to get the new land. And from then, at least about 5-6 months now, I've been asking the woman up there by agriculture documents yet. Now we still trying to do this and change. They took that land from someone, changed the name, rewrite the document, give me a new document. About 5-6 months now, every time I call him, the woman keeps telling me it's not completed yet.
Understood. All right, Sparky, I hope you get some resolution with that. I don't want you to feel what you're going through, because to invest and toil and put your money and effort behind something and have it taken away from you any which way, it is crushing. But I hope there's some resolution down the line for you. Call you on the phone. Go ahead.
Captain, this is a timely message. What inspired you to talk about agriculture this morning?
Sorry, caller, go ahead.
What inspired you to talk about agriculture this morning?
Well, it wasn't an inspiration to talk about agriculture this morning. I opened up the lines after we got through my accountability conversation, and I wanted the callers to chime in on what they wanted to chime in, and that was one of the first things that picked up. You have something to add to the dialogue?
But you don't believe, like 3 o'clock this morning, that was like on my mind. Just trying to understand, when you look at it, I planted a seed yesterday. I planted a seed in 1982, and in 2026 is the year of harvest. And what I'm looking at in terms of reality and would have been food. It ain't nothing that we can eat. We talk about why, and so I asked some of the elders in a farm group that I'm in, an agriculture group, because I feel that Sparky man's testimony, because I in Pride State also.
All right.
It's unfortunate that happened to him, and that keep happening to Bahamians. But one of the things I said to them is, what decisions did they make? Because I born in 1982. And I'm asking the elders who may be 18 and older at the time in 1982, what did they decide to do that when they made a decision, and in 2026 we had 43, I'm trying to figure out what did they plant? What seed did they plant for us to reap in this era?
Well, Dexter, I could go back to one of the callers we had a few minutes back, and he said something that it took me so far off guard that I actually had to hit up some of my text groups on it. I even hit up Dwight on it as well. Well, he hit me up on it, and it shows you the mindset that a lot of you call them elders, I call them senior citizens, that they were in and during their season of what we call planting. We're supposed to be the farmers of this land, not just literally, figuratively as well.
Right.
They didn't plant the correct seeds.
No.
And now we're reaping what was supposed to be planted there.
And you know what's frustrating? When we as men, when some of us who did not go along with the group and still planted seeds in the hearts of young men who are now men in my age who want to follow righteousness and want to do good and want to push and want to see the Bahamas prosperous for all, we're the ones who attack. We're the ones who are targeted. You understand?
All right.
Who they want to discredit and say, hey, don't listen to me, making no sense. I was behind agriculture for 5 months now. And I said to Miss, I was trying to get an appointment with Mr. Campbell. I started to construct on planning resilient greenhouses.
Right.
So we could start to look at greenhouse farming as a way to target our reduction of imports at the end of the day and to get more citizens' participation.
I got to add this to the list. We really got to have our agricultural.
I want you to follow me. I realized that old way of farming for me as a young man and my wife as a young woman, the old way of farming, traditional open air farming outside of its risk we know, is not appealing to the young person.
Right.
So I said, then let's make it sexy. Let's enclose them. Okay. Let's elevate the beds so it can be high enough so a person could go from instead of going into a kneel to standing position, which is taxing on the body, they can now start from a sitting to standing position so it can now be more appealing to those who want to farm. And you talk about the potential because you're talking about our ability to produce more versus open air farming, container farming. When you talk about cost analysis. And so then you talk about our ability, then you talk about training. I drafted some training. I said, okay, you need a greenhouse, but now we need to learn how to farm. So now let me put together some training so we could have basic training one-on-one for greenhouse farming so places now could learn. So it wouldn't be so we could reduce the learning curve as a nation so we could reduce the time that we would take to get ourselves operational from seed to fruit to plate and how much now our collateral or damages we will incur over a period of time because at the end of the day we have to still be loss of food that is being imported.
How long have you been farming, if you don't mind me asking?
I've never farmed. I only got in it because I was trying to do a renewable energy program with the cooperative, and they said in order for them to assist me, I would have to put agriculture planning.
Right.
You see, and so then in my research, I realized then this agriculture is bigger than life, and so I then created a whole plan to facilitate food production to reduce the cost of food that we're now paying for import, so we could see over a period of time Bahamians working together to help solve our crisis versus just bringing these large corporate farmers to say they're going to produce the hopes to reduce costs when we could empower our people right at home to get things moving, man. And so they try to ask us.
Continue doing the good work, man. Continue doing the good work.
No, I appreciate you for listening. I appreciate you for even having this conversation.
Definitely, old boy. But see, and I did see a couple of texts telling me about the Sparky situation. I want Sparky getting large sorted out. I really do. It's the letter time that he takes to go through the story. I want you to put me in the batch of people that don't want Sparky talk. I want Sparky talk. Sparky can't take 3 hours to tell the story. We got to keep it moving. Call you on with the forum. Go ahead.
Hello?
Turn your radio down.
Yes. I'm the caller that called first about the farming.
Yes.
You know what I did with my property?
Go ahead.
I live on about an acre. I planted fruit trees that I don't have to bother with every day. If you got a job and all of that, you can plant trees that you have to babysit. So people out there who want to put a fruit tree down, plant a tree that you don't have to babysit. And you'll have enough mangoes or sugar apples or pears and all those kind of things. But vegetables, somebody got to be around them every day.
Yeah, which part of New Providence you located in?
I live in Millis Heights.
Okay.
And I bought like the two big lots.
Uh-huh.
And I put apartments on the front part and then in the back, I got fruit trees. I go out there and I sit down and eat my fruit sometimes for breakfast.
Okay.
Depending on what is in season.
And I really got to do a show on agriculture.
Yeah, so
because
I grew up with parents who always had something in the yard to eat. That's how and all my brothers and sisters are like that.
Right.
Anyone in our yard you go to, we have fruit trees. But Bahamians got to understand, plant something you don't have to babysit, and don't let your little young wild children kill the tree.
I just want to add to that. Yes, plant something you don't have to babysit, but if you got the time and you got the space,
grow vegetables.
There you go. That's all I want you to add to it.
Yeah.
That's all it. That's how my grandparents did it. That's how my mommy's still trying to do it. So yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't have the time to do vegetables.
Yeah.
But I have my fruit trees are huge.
Okay.
And I give because it's only me and my friend, and she don't eat much, but I don't eat much.
And that's the importance of family.
So I could give away a lot of mine.
Yeah. Thank you so much, caller, for calling, bro. Caller, go ahead. You on the phone?
Hello.
Hey, go ahead, Sparky.
Yeah, okay. Let me tell you, sometimes I might sound long-winded because you have to tell the story the way it is. You just can't start to say something what's supposed to take an hour to say it in 30 seconds. But okay, let me tell you something.
I can give you 30 seconds, Spark. I can give you a little over a minute, sometime a minute.
Okay, just take over a minute. I can try my best. The guy just talked to you about pride of state of there. He lives here too. Everybody can tell you, when you pass Sparky's yard, I told all my neighbors, I was the first one moved down here in 2006. I told all my neighbors, plant food. They plant crabgrass, bougainvillea, hibiscus, palms, this and that and that. Now, I planted bananas, soursop, breadfruit, tamarind, mangoes, guavas, you name it, it's in my yard growing. In my pride estate yard. Anybody in season, you could come to Sparky. Plus, they gave me the contract because they know I love pride estate. You got our pride to live in pride. They gave me the contract to keep the park clean. I beautified the park, and what I did is every 10 feet, I invested the money I made out of the doggone contract, purchasing plants from Rocky Farm, and every 10 feet I put down a fruit tree. Not no flower tree, not no ficus, not no bougainvillea, nothing pretty, not no flowers. I plant fruit trees, you name them, from doggone dillies, mangoes, we can plant cherries, you name it. And I try to tell everybody, all these people that has contracts for these parks and beaches and things, make sure they invest some of their money into planting things that in the future will be there where the Bahamian people could go eat within season. In the future, when you go in Pride State Park, if Dilly's in season, the children and the adults and the visitors could get a breadfruit, whatever it is. And I also said that what we should do is all the way to the airport, along the sides of the street, instead of planting these palm trees, would just look pretty and bear no fruit, plant fruit trees so on Sundays, when you and your family and your children going out, if dillies in season, your little boy could go up on the tree, pick some dillies, and the family could eat something healthy.
I would recommend it right on the side of the highway, Sparky, but I get your point. I definitely get your point. But see, again, I had no intention of doing this. My topic today was all about accountability in government. We talked about FOIA, we talk about the Ombudsman Act, we talk about the Disclosures Act, we talk about some comparative analysis, looking at places like Trinidad, looking at places like, Barbados, looking at places like Jamaica. That was the point of this show today, holding our government accountable, understanding how accountability is actually played out in society. But now I got to do a show on agriculture because I understand that there's a big gap here. Like I thought coming up, people is always to tell me today, people ain't got no land to do what they need to do. But y'all tell me land here available and y'all getting it on grant and y'all getting it on lease. I want to plant some trees too. I got one little mango tree in the yard. I want to plant a little guinea one, a little sapodilla one, one little guava one. I want to plant a couple trees too because y'all are here doing it. Y'all are here doing it, and I love that fact. Caller, go ahead. You on the phone?
Yes, I want to address the farming and accountability, right? But that farming, the people, like you said, your last caller before the last, right? He said he bought a double lot. You understand me? You can't do no farming and no property, right?
That's what I was saying. I didn't know the land was out there to do this, but y'all telling me it out there. Sound like I got
no, there people buy a dwelling home or what you call logo house home. Nothing can go in there because there ain't no sunlight. You understand? I mean, the market yard ain't enough sunlight.
Sound like they got some spaces in Brad Estate. It's Brad Estate. That's 2 farmers we had. Well, your boy say he just.
Nobody say they got double lots. They bought 2 lots. Go on and most probably depending on how it lie, it's either on the side. Then you gotta be planning where you want to neighborhood get some all the date making. But then with the accountability thing, right? See the problem we have in this country, right? Is we are conservative countries, the governance in this country, not really the accountability. Because we got to be accountable. There's accountability, right? Be accountable for the kind of governance we practicing. You understand me? If you look at the United States governments, right, the Democrats and Republicans, one is progressive and one is conservative. But in the Bahamas, all of our governments and even the third party, they are conservative. You see, what they do in the state, they are practicing, they are progressing conservatively, right? There's conservative progression or progress,
right?
But not progressive progress. You see, the PLP is supposed to be a progressive party, but they're making conservative progress and not progressive progress.
Because when they presented themselves initially with the things that they stood on, the things that they stood for, those were progressive views at that time.
Right.
You see?
So it's changed now.
Yeah.
So therefore, the accountability, we need to be accountable. We need to hold them accountable for this one progress. This conservative. This the thing we doing.
I hate to break the news to you like this, but you can't hold them accountable. They are a lot alike because technically, what we know the FNM to be was sort of birthed out of the PLP. So you can't.
They're supposed to be progressive as well, but just rather than liberal, they should be. Liberal but nationalist.
Yeah.
You see, and then the nationalist party, progressive parties too. You see, let's look at Dubai, right? Dubai is a progressive nation. They don't. These people own all the major hotels, all their utilities. You understand? They may do some public shares, some private shares. You know what I mean? You give them little dividends, but you know what I mean? The people still own these things, and their lives are a problem. So, so you remember when PLP, what they accused support of divesting money making assets of the entity to themselves. That's the same thing our governments are doing. They're divesting the public assets. You understand me? To private individuals. But anyway, thank you much for giving me this opportunity.
Definitely, man. Thank you. Couple of texts to get to. Okay, this was from earlier in the show. If the land is private, did the landowner allow the squatting where they collected rent? Had they made real attempts to get persons removed? If it's government land, there are thousands of Bahamians waiting in line for low-cost homes. How can the government prioritize foreign people who cannot afford housing and by that standard should be, and on top of that is blatantly breaking the law? Next text, they will tell you custom duties on fruit and vegetables is 0. The problem is everything else. Our system that promotes people who don't know the first thing about management to the highest executive level in the country with control of billions of dollars, the only thing they can excel at is making a mess. Last year, the government increased electrical costs to food stores by 40%, and then they implemented VAT policies that increased food costs by $1 million. That's just the start. They're extracting so much money from the economy to make up for the incompetence that they are sinking the economy. Look around you. The more money they collect, the worse the country looks. Text, I can say this, and this is something I've been holding for a couple of weeks. The problem in this country ain't taxation. When I say it ain't taxation, I feel like the government gets enough in taxes. Is what we do with those tax dollars. Next text, I bought a home in 2003. I planted all kinds of fruit trees, added to the mango, pear, ganab trees. In 2023, I lost my home to the bank, and the new owner tore down. Ah, Lord, that is sad. All including the 100-year-old dilly tree. Do these idiots know that fruit trees take decades to grow? And this disrespectful government is also demolishing historical buildings and trees every day. They care nothing about climate change. Okay, texter. Some long text messages. A blessed Saturday afternoon, Ricardo. I got to read through this text first before I go ahead. Okay, yeah, we can read this one on air. Just dietitians and food nutrition experts say that you should make healthy eating very serious. In essence, your way of life. The Bahamas and all Bahamian citizens and residents living in the multiple islands of the Bahamas need to and should take farming and agriculture very serious. We need to grow enough food to eat, to feed the people in the Bahamas, just in case, God forbid, no food freighters ships come across the sea to supply the Bahamas. Really think about that, Ricardo, and the Bahamian listeners. What happens if, God forbid, no food container ships were to come to the Bahamas and your food stores and restaurants grow empty? That's a good text there, and there's a lot to ponder on. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to wrap up.
All right, we gon' be all right. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be all right. We gon' be all right, huh? We gon' be all right. We gon' be all right. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be all right.
Up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Bahamas, I be looking at you from the face down.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Print Masters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Print Masters bring your life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Put more money back in your pocket with the Fidelity Debt Consolidation Loan. Why pay more when you can pay less? Payments down to one low, easy payment. Apply for a Fidelity Debt Consolidation Loan today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Running through the castles, flying through the air, laughing with our friends, fun is everywhere. Jumping higher, higher than before, inflatable kingdom, give us more and more.
Jump this way to fun at Inflatable Kingdom Attraction Park, opening Friday, July 10th at Breezes Cable Beach. Unlimited inflatable rides for kids up to 12. Kids $25, adults $5. Adult supervision required.
Shop early to get your uniforms and catch Janae's Uniform Center's buy 4 get 1 free sale. Pre-monogrammed and regular school shirts, dry fit and cotton polos, jumpers, skirts, boys long and short pants, PE shorts, underclothes, tights, socks, neckties, belts, sleeping mats, hair accessories, and character work desk. Get 50% off backpacks, lunch bags, and raincoats. Buy 4 school shirts, get 1 free. Buy 2 skirts, jumpers, or pants, get the third 50% off. Need embroidery and monogramming done? Visit Janae's Uniform Center early. Beat the back to school rush. Janae's Chesapeake Road back to school special. Restrictions apply.
Tell them. Calling all football fans, there's only one place to catch the FIFA World Cup final. Join Nassau Cruise Port and Diageo on Sunday, July 19th at the amphitheater at Nassau Cruise Port. Gates open at 1 p.m. with kickoff at 3 p.m. Music by DJ Kenny, DJ Tank. Visit NassauCruiseport.com for pricing and more information. Don't miss the FIFA World Cup final watch party at Nassau Cruise Port, July 19th. Gates open at 1 p.m.
Mandela. Hold my flow, stay propelling. Let these words be your earth and moon. You consume every message. As I lead this army, make room for mistakes and depression.
Welcome back to the forum. In the final 15, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a tremendous Saturday. Let me just say for the record, I like spending the Saturday with y'all, but y'all let's keep it intentional, and I respect that. Let me try and take these last couple of callers. Caller, go ahead. You're on with the forum.
Hello and good afternoon. This is Ricardo.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hello, and I'm so pleased that you're actually considering having a show on agriculture.
Oh no, I considering it. I writing it in right now. I going through my notes right now from the day's show. Then sure that we get all the talking points in there. Go ahead.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I really wasn't planning to call, but the thing is that I am a part of a group of Bahamian investors who are very interested in investing in Bahamian farmers. A number of us, for example, have invested in the Nassau Cruise Port and various other areas within the Bahamas. Very interesting. So as a consortium, we would be very interested in investing in Bahamian farmers in order to strengthen our food chain here in the Bahamas. We're very nationalistic in our approach, but we need the right medium. We need the right machinery. We don't know, who's interested, who may be coming together, whether they're attached, for example, to BAMSI, whatever it may be. But the money is out there. But somehow we just need to link it up. Clearly, the farmers are out there. If the land can be obtained for farming, right. Even if they're young farmers, we're willing to encourage those young farmers. But Ricardo, please, if you can start the discussion and the dialogue, we're listening.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
I want to put you on hold. I want the producer to get your contact information so I can reach out to you. Okay? I'll call her. Go ahead. You on with the forum?
Yes, I must say this, but one more quick thing.
Go ahead,
Who do you believe how shares in most of these mega stores around here?
Oh, you ain't got to tell me, Sparky.
Most of our leaders,
I might sound
lawyers, and they don't want nothing to change because that'll mess up their income.
And that's
they
why
are lawyers and accountants for all these mega stores where all of us have to go and shop.
And that's why
if we mess up and bring down the pricing down their shareholders. So they want everything to remain the same. Our politicians, most of them, have shares in these big mega hardwares and stores. They are the lawyers for these places.
Thank you, Sparky. Let me say, Sang Young. I as a grown man on this road, I know exactly the games we play in Sparky. I come up in this town. I know this town very well. These my peoples. These Bahamian people. These my people. I know how the game is played. I understand the systems that we work in, and that's why we choose accountability for today's topic. We want you to understand, and again, we start off with the poem again by the great Langston Hughes, my favorite poet. The poem is called "Make." But I was going to say the wrong thing just now because I get distracted by a text message. Let America be great again. That's the name of the poem. And again, that comes simple. The ideas that we have of things, the belief we have of things, is often not the reality of it. And sometimes we need to find that gap. And I told the callers, I told the texters, I told the listeners today that is what we were going to focus on. The gap in between what is promised and what is reality. And we didn't intend to have an agricultural conversation today, but you can clearly see there's been promise about what these persons could do on these pieces of land. There's been a lot of promise. There's been a lot of promoted. There's been a lot said. But now we've seen the reality of it. You have persons like Sparky starting farms on their land and being told that, hey, you got to move a couple spots down the street and start over after years of toiling on the land. You have persons talking about building homes in some of these communities, and there's not even enough land to build. Not to build, but to start farms on, to feed themselves and to feed their families. So, hey, a lot promise, but what the reality is. And I told you a lot about the mechanisms and the frameworks that we have to hold our governments accountable. We spend a lot now on what's broken, why it's broken. The diagnosis part is easy. The real test is in the direction we take to kind of improve these things, to kind of fix these issues. Call, I see you there, but I got to get through this before we get off air today. If you're there at the end, I could come back to you. But let me just get through this. But what we need to talk about is that gap. Not what the people write about, not what the Prime Minister talk about, not what come out of the cabinet, not what, the senators talk about, not the social media posts, No, we got to talk about what people live every single day. And that's where we get into real transparency. We ain't want the reactive disclosures. We ain't want the reactive dialogue. We talking about real transparency. Transparency shouldn't mean waiting on somebody to ask the right questions or waiting for the right press conference to happen at the right time. Contracts. These meetings that we all hear about. That we see the minutes. We see what's actually being promised. What's in these heads of agreement. You know? What in some of these contracts being given to some of these party cronies. That's what we talk about when we talk about real transparency. Not just what is published in the budget report, but what's actually executed from that budget. Where did the money actually go? Not where it's told to us that, hey, you got $1 million here and there, $10 million here and there, $100 million for schools and all of that. What is actually executed with that money? In the Fixing the Freedom of Information Act, because there's been a lot of talk about this. Again, shout out my good people over there at OG. They've done tremendous work trying to get this done. If the FOIA law is not enacted and it's not carried out, if it's not enforced, then it's just a promise. We need a real turnaround on these issues. We need real turnaround on time. We need real turnaround on penalties for non-compliance. We need real public tracking of what happens to the requests once they are filed. We need that so citizens aren't just left wondering if anyone is even reading these things. That brings us to civic engagement. Town halls shouldn't just only show up around election time or when some, new thing is being introduced. Town halls should be a big part of our everyday life, a big part of our everyday existence. That's the only way we improve things. Yeah, Sparky them talking about the things happening in Pride State. That should be on the agenda at a town hall somewhere for citizens. Once we have that civic engagement, once we fix that structure, we inform our citizens and we really build a better community. And you might have one or two people in these government agencies that reveal one or two things. I want protection for whistleblowers as well. We need to close these gaps. That's the only way to go about it. We need to close these gaps. So accountability for politicians isn't just punishment. I don't want it to be looked at that. It's a part of the job that they sign up for, the job that they put on all the pretty shirts and pull up all the pretty stage and had all the pretty concerts for. Accountability was the job that they were signing up for. It's maintenance. It's the routine. It's the unglamorous work that keeps trust from rotting quietly. A government you can't see isn't a mystery. It's a warning. The government that you can't see, it's not a mystery. It's a warning. The things that the government try to keep away from you and keep you out of, that's the warning right there. So I need everybody to hold our government accountable. Carl, I just had to say that little piece. You on with the forum? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Wells, talking about green spaces and speed. So if you go on the airport, not the airport road, but the road that comes from the airport, at least the back of the airport heading towards, Coral Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about a couple of miles of, I call it natural devastation. All of the pine trees, thousands of acres are being cleared down. Is the government clearing that down for farming?
I don't know.
And what are they doing with all the pine trees? I mean,
I've been asking the same question because that's normally my route to and from the airport. I live in the southern end of the island, living right off the Golden Gates area. So I've seen that over the last couple of months, and I've been trying to do my due diligence to figure out what's going on in the back there. Seeing some of the billboards being erected saying that this piece of land is promised to this group and that group and all that. And understand from a town planning perspective, from a national development perspective, would it not have been better to go about that process with some organization. When I say organization, in the sense of what we want that community or that new environment to look like. If you're going to tear down all the pine trees, shouldn't the public have a say in what that actually becomes? Whether it becomes a new community, whether it becomes a new shopping plaza or something. I feel like we just destroying it for destroying its sake. Carly, you still there? Okay, just going to get through some text messages right quick. Going back to one of the texts, I've been having a long dialogue with all day. He's going right back to the Shantytown issue. Also, what did I say wrong concerning the Shantytown issues? The government promised to deal with the illegals, but they are rewarding them with low-cost homes, paying only $2,500 down. This is outrageous because foreigners getting our land for pennies after living on it for free, saving millions. Bahamians, $24,000 to $40,000 down. Why intentionally empower criminals, meanwhile taxing us to death? Going to our next texter. Blessings again, Ricardo. This is the first text. Just so you know, for future reference, when I text, I only text things that can be read live. Oh, definitely. I just had to read through it. I wanted to make sure I had the full gist of it before presenting it to the public. Thank you so much. Ricardo, ordinary Bahamian citizens just want proper accountability and oversight in regular things like enforcement of inspections of large, heavy vehicles, and when they are supposed to be on the road, and whether they are roadworthy. Proper rules for repairs, i.e. not making holes worse and leaving them for weeks before they are fixed. Okay, texter, understood. I'm going through some more text messages. Oh, there's a lot. Most of the shanty towns were on Crown land, leased to folks who claimed they were going to do agriculture on it. Oh, so we can see the next slide right now. One house often was there for the workers, and most of the people are Bahamian. Most people are Bahamians or eligible to apply for citizenship. So CBC, two sides of the same coins. You have Texas saying, they want land to do agriculture. You have some people claiming that the same land being given for agriculture is being converted into some of these same shantytown communities. That's something we have to look at when we discuss this agricultural thing. Praise God, Ricardo. Despite you are rather young, you are very smart, wise, sharp, and alert, and really know and understand your Bahamian. Sorry, your Bahamas, Ricardo. Sadly, I know the folks in the 60s and 70s that seem not really to understand their very own Bahamas, despite their seniority to you. And only God can open their eyes if they choose to do so. Dexter, thank you. Let me see if I can take this last caller before we get up out of here. Caller, go ahead. You on the forum? Go ahead. You on the forum? Caller, you there? All right, if you want to call back, we got a couple minutes. We can get through it. See if we got any more texts. Okay. Okay, we all set on